What is going on, guys? We will be swapping the 951 motor out of this Seadoo XP and putting it into another hole that I have, which is a 2005 Seadoo Gti, which has a 717 motor in it. So we're going to start breaking down this whole ski, getting the motor out, getting the exhaust out, gas tank and everything like that, and then take the motor out of the GTI and swap it all over and run about 70 more horsepower, because this motor right here makes about 114 bone stock, which you can do aftermarket heads and stuff like that to it, and then the 717 makes about 70-ish horsepower, somewhere around there. So we're going to go ahead and get started and breaking everything down. Got to get this whole headpiece off, and then to be able to get to the motor and get the gauges and everything like that out. But it'll be a pretty cool build once it's said and done. So as you can see, the hole is in pretty bad shape. Even the bunks are just kind of done, but the main part is we're trying to get this motor out. This is a Seadoo 951, which makes around 115 horsepower. Like I said, I bought it with the carburetors already removed. We're going to take those out, rebuild them and everything, and just start gutting it. But gotta get this whole shield off first and everything to be able to get all the steering cables, the clutch cable and stuff like that, and get the gauges out. Mainly just to get this off so I don't have to have it in my way the whole time. But the ski is in pretty rough shape. The owner before me did do a compression test, and it made good compression on the motors, or on each cylinder, so we are pretty much good to go. So the first thing we're going to start doing is removing the handlebars and such, and just working our way on down. Well, that just snapped both of the bolts entirely. There's that front connection. All the hoses. That gauge is slap full of water, which I don't think that's how they're supposed to be. At least somebody did use a lot of zip ties last time that they were in here. So, got the dash undone. Sweet. So one thing that I did notice on this XP is that instead of running a cable per each side to pull the jet drive one way or pull the jet drive the other, it uses a hinge mechanism instead of the old, well, I guess this is still old school, but pretty neat that I did notice it. So a little bit of an update on the build. I got the bellows out for when you flip it, the intake port for the carburetors. The whole front assembly is off as well, and then all this is getting taken off. I just got the entire wiring harness undone, and we're about to go ahead and pull that out right now, and get that out of the ski. For the time being, I did just put a zip tie around the oil because we will be running premix once we do the motor swap. So that is the entire harness. So now we are going to start getting out the starter box. Well, not really a starter box, but the starter switch box, and getting out the CDI box as well, which is tucked up right there, just to start making room to pull the motor out, and then we'll go from there. Do got to put a rag in there just so nothing comes out. I'll probably just go ahead and get these carburetors out of the way as well, which they will be needing a rebuild, and definitely a cleanup. Alright, so we got the grounding bolt removed, and I think it's now time to finally pull out the entire motor. Oh man. That right there is our 951. Obviously it'll be needing to get a bath. Here's the oil inlet for the automatic oiler, your starter wire, and then I think this is just a breather valve or something like that, or a check valve, but it is out, and boy, that was a chore. But we're gonna go ahead and put a tarp on it and start again tomorrow, and try and get it done by the end of the week. But alrighty. Alright, what is going on, guys? Last week we finished off the build with pulling the motor out of the jet ski, and so now we are going to try and get more wiring out, get the gas tank out today, and then start working around the backside, and getting all that pulled out. Okay. So that is on the agenda today. Trying to just get more and more out and getting it ready to get swapped. So with the gas tank that I'm seeing, I would assume that you just pick it up right here, slide it out, and then you can undo this main fill hose, and then it looks like the ports for the fuel in, return, and exhaust and everything like that kind of slides out with you because the petcock is right here. So I guess we're going to try and see if we can just undo the main fill and then slide it out a little bit, get the main fuel pump and everything like that out of it once we get it right in here to where we got a lot more room, just because everything's shoved so far back. I mean, this entire thing, this entire cover right here is pretty much the fuel tank. And then all this is your output shaft and the variable trim system and everything like that. So figured out I can just take this top part off of the top cap, and that'll relieve it from the bottom. Pull just like that. And then now it should be able to get picked up and slide back a little bit. I can go ahead and pull that off. And something else is holding us up. Yeah, it's still not budging. forgot about the hold downs. Alright, so we got the rear gas tank holder on that you probably can't even see. I'm trying to get a view of it, but it's past that fuel pickup right there. Literally takes almost your entire body to get out, to get to. So I believe that the gas tank is pretty much free at this point. Don't really think anything else is holding it on, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the camera on the tripod, pull out the gas tank, and go from there. There it goes. Alright, all those are pretty much pulling themselves out, and the gas tank is free. Alright, so now that we got the gas tank removed, we pretty much have all the room that we need to get all the wiring and everything like that. I did notice that I didn't even take off the second binding. I only thought it had 2, but in fact it had 3. So now we're just going to go ahead and pull the rest of the wiring out. Alright, so off camera I have been working, and I went ahead and pulled out the exhaust. And then now I'm starting to work and getting the drive pump pulled out and everything with that right in there. And so then once I get the drive pump pulled out, I just got to pull out the rest of the pump back here and then get finished with all of that. And then the bilge pump will be staying in here. I don't need to have one in the jet ski that I'm putting the 951 in. And then that will be it. We ended up getting all of the wiring out. And then that's the carburetor, his exhaust, CDI box and everything. So we've got everything that we need out of the jet ski now. And so we're just kind of on the final steps of getting it pulled out, and then we'll go ahead and I'll probably do one last ride with the 717 and the GTI, and then we'll go ahead and start swapping the motor in from the 951 and getting that all done. I will be running the 951 stock for a little while, and then I may do some motor mods to it, like putting a new head on it, running more compression and whatnot, and then go on from there. But as of right now, we're going to degrease the whole motor, make sure everything's good with that, make sure everything's turning over properly, and then we got to make the motor mounts as well, because I think I read on one forum that they do share 2 motor mounts, but you do have to create one last one, so you got to drill a hole in your hole and everything, and create the motor mount and reinforce everything like that. But when we get there, we'll address it. But it is coming along pretty smooth, and next we'll probably end up degreasing the motor and pulling out the rest of the hoses and everything, kind of collecting all the hose clamps just because they are all nice stainless steel ones. But yeah, so in order to get the drive pump and everything like that undone fully, it looks like I do have to take off the little seat suspension thing. There is the bolts right there that hold it on above it, and then that should be the rest of the drive system, because if you look from the front, you can't get the drive shaft out because of the seat plate right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that off real quick. It's just 3 low bolts, and then we'll should be able to get this drive shaft out completely after that. Alright, so a little bit of update on the jet ski build. So I ended up getting all of the bolts from out of the back of the pump, and then I removed the bolts from the, I guess you'd call it like the drive system almost, and so that's going to be ready to pull out, and so I'm going to set the camera up and we're going to go ahead and pull the pump out and everything and get everything disassembled, and that will be the last two things that I probably don't even need to take that out, come to think of it, just because I'm not going to use it for the GTI, but I do want to get the pump out and look at the pitch of the props and just kind of do that. Then I also do want to take these off just because my GTI doesn't have two tow hooks in the back, so I want to get those off as well, and then drill the holes for that. But other than that, the jet ski is pretty much stripped down. There's not really much left in there at all. It's pretty much just a hole at this point. But that's what we needed. We got everything out that we needed and whatnot, and so I'm gonna go ahead and get the pump out and everything. I'll set it up on the tripod and we'll go from there. Okay, so I went ahead and pushed off the drive shaft off the spines of the connecting rod, if you will, and so now I'm just trying to figure out what else is still holding the pump and the pump assembly on. From what I can see, that there's nothing holding it on, but it's still got something grabbing it to keep it. So I didn't really realize that there was a hex key right there and then one on the top holding it in place. So I think after those three all off, that might be my culprit, and that might have been what's holding everything up, because like I said, I pulled the entire output shaft and everything off the rear end, and something just kept holding me back. So maybe that has to come off first, and then you can get the whole drive system off. I'm not exactly too sure, but we're going to go ahead and take those off and see if that... Hopefully these threads aren't too extremely long, but it looks like this is just a set screw to hold the other ones in place. Go ahead and get these three off as well. So now that we got all three of those off, whoa, there's a little bit of water in there. Whew, that water is stinky. Stinky, stinky. So maybe this is something else that's holding this on. Might even be that 17 mil. Nope. So now we'll go ahead and take that off as well, and then go from there. I'll grab just a crescent wrench. I'm gonna go ahead and try and. So that is just turning the blades. Got a little dirt dauber nest in there as well. Alright, so what else can be holding it on? Not exactly too sure. It's almost out. It will not come the rest of the way, no matter what.